Welcome back to State of Decay 2 Heartland. At the end of our last episode, we made some plans. We're going to go up here and deal with these infestations, which means dealing with this pack of ferals along the way. Our ultimate goal is actually to go grab this Rames V. Or is that a Rames 5? I don't actually know. We're going to go get this Rames and drive it back so we can have multiple cars at our base. One of the reasons to do that is because Cogs in the chat wants me to investigate a bug that we have where the cars that you park at the Heartland base at Jurassic Junction will get scattered all over the place after you leave and come back. So first I'm going to repark this car a little better. Wait a minute. Is that how I parked that car? I parked this car weird, if that's how I parked it. Was there anything in the back? Oh, a little bit of gas, but I don't need that for the Rames. Wait, I don't know what condition that Rames is in. Doesn't really tell me. Maybe I should bring another couple pieces of equipment with me. I should probably bring a repair kit, just in case we need it. And do I have any coffee? I've got energy drinks. They can, if my stamina starts to give out on me, I don't need 3 energy drinks. Maybe I do. I'm going to bring an energy drink because I do not want to fight those ferals. With, like, for instance, if I get hit by a bloater or something like that, I don't want to hit those ferals with a stamina problem. Though, of course, yeah, I think people have told me in the past, and I keep forgetting this.
I'd better move quietly around that sleeping bloater.
That fatigue might not actually be a thing. Let's remember that this bloater is here. I'm not going to use any of my valuable resources to kill it. Let's try not to hit it with our car. I'm just thinking I need every bullet if I'm going to fight some ferals. Oh no! Oh, you didn't get to scream! Oh, I'm so sorry! Oh no! Oh yeah, Cogs reminds me, of course, the Rames, it's not a Rames 5, it's a Rames V, because it's named after Ving Rhames. Of course it is. Of course it is. I don't know what I was thinking. Oh, so, apparently I missed this. A ways back, Ace380 asks, do you play with community members? Not typically. I've got some, like, I don't know, minor anxiety issues around playing co-op with strangers, and, we're just going to listen to Vic.
Please respond, if you can. I just want to know you're alive. And that I'm not alone.
So that is one of the missions that I actually worked on. In fact, I think that's the first one we've encountered among the missions that I actually worked on in Heartland. So, oh, hey, look, there's a car. There's a new car. Right there. Look at that. Is it in good shape? Oh, look at that. It's a Rames V. Sweet. So I think, just to be safe, and because we like Aunt Fee, I'm going to take this truck up to fight those ferals. But at some point, I'm going to go back and get that other Rames. For one thing, it has more gas in it.
Hey, remember me?
So maybe we'll do both. A little bit of both.
I have a few questions. If you're ready for answers, how about we meet up?
Okay, so where are these ferals?
It's about time we got some answers.
So hopefully, with an assault rifle and some advanced knowledge that they're there, I can handle these guys. That's the hope. Of course, the very first one of these that I fought managed to tackle me before I accomplished much, so we'll see how this goes. Alright, so it says they should be right about here. However, sometimes the game despawns stuff without a lot of warning. Oh, nope, there it is. Okay. One down. There's the other one. There we go. Oh, I love that zombies are dumb. All right. Let's just take care of these guys real quick. Okay. With the ferals taken care of, I'm a lot less nervous. Let's get this car back to base. And then let's go for the other van, the other pickup. Anyway, yeah, so to the question of why why I don't play co-op with randos on the internet, part of it is just I've got general like social anxiety around just playing with strangers. But I think I've thought about this a little bit lately. It's a little bit enhanced, I think, by the fact that I'm putting on this stream, and I genuinely, like, if I don't really know somebody, I don't want to make them responsible for the content of my stream. Like, you never know if somebody's going to say something super weird. And so, I try to be careful. So that's another reason. And a lot of the time, I've just got, like, I've got a purpose in mind when I'm streaming something. Like I don't stream for like 6 hours to just, chill with my chat. I'm playing something because I'm researching it. I'm trying to learn something from it. I'm trying to comment on it. I'm trying to do something with it. And so a lot of time, like I kind of need to be largely in control of the conversation in order to make that work, in order to, like, the purpose, the reason I'm here to work. And so that's another reason why I often, sort of stream things on my own, is because I've usually gotten a little bit of an agenda, when I'm streaming, and I kind of want to make sure that I have got sort of the time and the brain space to make that happen. The times when I have actually streamed with community members, it's usually been somebody that I trust, one of my mods, something like that. What? Let's bring this guy inside. Come here. Hey, everybody! I brought somebody for you to play with. Aww. Oh, careful.
So, now that you have your home back, you think you can help us take ours back too?
Oh, dang it. Where's everybody else? I gotta overcome my fear of juggernauts. Hey there, buddy. Oh man, am I behind some planter boxes? Oh, I feel so bad for you. Oh, this is so confusing.
I should reload.
Oh, he's mad at the gate now. He's like, I can't get this human. Oops. Not the best marksman these days.
I should reload.
The fact that this thing only has 5 bullets keeps messing me up. I keep expecting to be able to fire it 6 times.
Reload.
So I think if you keep getting headshots on this guy... Whoa, what?
That's my last shot.
Alright. I guess...
That was the last of them.
Whoa! Oh, I thought I dodged that. I just saw he was doing an animation. It turns out it was his damage animation. But I dodged because I did not want to get hit by something. Okay, I'm slowly building my confidence as a Juggernaut killer.
Getting disposed like this.
There we go. Now I had some help, but that wasn't too bad. I almost absolutely have the plague, though. All right, so if I'm going to be running away from home, I should probably craft some plague. Where do we do that around here? There we go. Let's have some plague cure. When I said craft some plague, what I meant was craft some plague cure. All right, so if I catch the plague while I'm out... Oh, wait, bullets. Bullets, 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 bullets. Do I have any bullets left for this Tassie Devil? I don't. Well, let's... grab this instead.
My last group worked hard to build this place up.
All right, we're headed out to get that stupid whatever pickup truck. Whew, okay, I forgot what I was talking about when I hit that Juggernaut.
The cloud smells terrible.
It's just zombies everywhere, aren't there? Like you never run out of zombies. So the tank asks, have you ever seen or played Star Sand? I remember you saying you would like to make a desert survival game personally if you could, so I was wondering if you'd want to give it a try. I've never heard of Star Sand. So I'm happy to look it up. That does sound interesting. If it's a desert survival game specifically, that does sound interesting, because I've seen other like themed survival games. There's The Forest, there's Stranded Deep, there's what's the name of the one with like the plane crash in the snow? What is that? What's that called? You know what? I'm just gonna use the cure right now. Whatever. Oh shoot! Bunch of zombies. The Long Dark. Thank you, Raneth Gord. So. Oh no! I didn't mean to use that. Ah, oh, dang it! I was hitting the wrong button there. Oh, I've got those pursuit mines. I could have used those. I wasn't thinking about it. Yeah, so there's like all these different survival games out there. Successful survival games in different biomes. I don't know if I've seen one that was desert, though. So that's interesting, Tank. I'm actually, I'm going to write down the words Star Sand here, so I can look it up later on. Thank you. Let's see here. Oh, hey, so, sorry I fell behind on the chat, by the way. Killer Venom asked a question a ways back. He said, for someone who goes to college to become a game designer, would you recommend playing different games in most of your free time? Most of your free time is up to... Okay. If you happen to really like playing a lot of different games, and you are relaxed by it, and that's a good way for you to cool down, great. Yes, definitely spend your free time playing video games, and try to play as many different ones as you can. That does sound great. If that is not your main way of relaxing, definitely don't... The thing I would worry about is just don't turn playing video games into a chore. If you want to play video games, then please, absolutely play video games. But if you... don't feel like, I just don't, I'm worried about turning it into homework. Don't turn video games into homework, because it's very easy when you just spend all of your time working on video games and then playing video games in your spare time. You can burn out on video games. And if that's all you do and you burn out on it, but it's all you've been doing for years and you've got nothing else you know how to do, that can be a bad situation. So make sure that, just don't let yourself get completely burned out on the topic. But the thing I'd recommend, so it's not just, there is a benefit to playing a wide variety of video games. That is important. Because each of us has probably got favorite games or favorite genres that we like to spend a lot of our time in. You see, I play a lot of open world games, a lot of survival games. I play a lot of, I kind of like weird, like Zachtronic style puzzle games. There's a lot of genres that I like. There's some that I just do not get into. I do not get into JRPGs, for instance. It's just not my style. A lot of big story-based blockbuster games, they really have to stand out to keep my attention, just because, I don't know, I'm usually engaging with games on a innovative mechanics level a lot of the time. And just being told a new story is usually not enough to keep my attention. And a lot of the time, you know, like what you have to do with a big AAA game is you have to play it safe with the mechanics so that you can, you know, sort of basically not drive any players away. Games like, say, you know, the game I've been most obsessed with lately, Project frickin' Zomboid, is not for everyone.
Aim for the head.
Woo! All right. It's not for everyone because they do a lot of weird, crazy things that, you know, it's like for the people who love Project Zomboid, like me, find it irreplaceable. Like you can't live without it once you have it because you're like, oh my gosh, this game is exactly everything I've been looking for. Games like RimWorld are the same way. But those games, by doing something crazy and out there, they're limiting their audience. And big AAA games, what they need to do is not limit their audience because to make back the money, you've got to appeal to as many people as possible. So you can't make a game like Zomboid or RimWorld on a massive budget. You can only make a certain kind of game on a massive budget. Now, a lot of those games are great. I love them. You know, I mean, I play Call of Duty religiously every year. You know, I love the Last of Us games, the God of War games, but a lot of the, you know, like the new God of War, I played a little bit of it, but it's, you know, this, you know, getting involved in this like big elaborate story is emotionally involving. The game progresses fairly slowly because they feel like they need to deliver a very a large playtime in order to sort of justify the cost to your average gamer. There's a lot of, you know, decisions they made that made the game less easy for me to penetrate. So, you know, I end up not really playing the whole thing and not really getting that into it. Even though I recognize that it's really good and it's really well made, it just ends up not being the thing that I spend a lot of my time on. Oh gosh, that wasn't what I meant to stand in the middle of. Anyway, so the point I was making was, I just got watered completely off my point. Sorry, Killer Venom. The point that I was trying to make was, I've got game genres that I'm not into, where I kind of have to force myself to play the games just to see what's there. Games like Elden Ring. I had to force myself to play a certain amount of Elden Ring just to see it, but I was never going to play that game long term. It's just not, it's not made for me. It's made for other kinds of players. You're going to have games like that too. You're going to have games that are not your cup of tea. And you're going to have games that are the things that are easy for you to play, things that just naturally fit into your life and into your tastes. And so, yeah, so I think that one of the things that's really valuable is consciously branching out and playing games you wouldn't normally try. Because if you want to work as a game designer, you're usually not going to have a lot of control over what you're working on. You know, you're going to have a limited range of options when it comes to, you know, the jobs that you can land. Other people are going to be, especially when you're new in the industry, other people are going to be making a lot of decisions about the projects you're working on. You're not going to be able to make each project your special little baby that you just love. And so you're going to have to understand games that are not the games you would normally play. Even if they're not your favorites, you still have to get them, you know, so that you can work on them if that ends up being where your career goes. So that's one thing. But another thing that I would recommend, aside from just branching out and consciously trying to play games you would not normally play, is when you're playing, try not to just sort of passively play the game and just experience it. Like the reason why I have this stream is because it forces me to talk continuously while I'm playing. It was about to vomit. Oh gosh, what's going on? Ah! Yay! I killed 25 and really? I guess I play. Okay, not in this session of Heartland, not in this save. I haven't killed 20, but 25.
This is an infestation level I can be comfortable with.
But I guess I have played a little bit of Heartland before I started this series. Anyway, yeah, one of the reasons why I do this stream is so that I'm constantly trying to have... What the heck is up with the loot in here? I'll come back here later when I've got a car. I'm constantly trying to, like, make coherent thoughts about the game that I'm having. I'm saying out loud what I'm learning from the game. I'm talking it through because it's really easy to just experience a game mechanic and not consciously get anything out of it, not learn about that mechanic. You know, just you can just sort of passively internalize it, and on some gut level you know that you liked it, and if you really think it through later you could probably piece it out. But the fact that I'm consciously reacting to things and saying out loud what experience I'm having, I think really helps me get something more out of this experience than I would if I was just playing these games on my own. So I'd recommend, I don't know what format this would take for you, because everybody's got sort of a different life, but if you know, when you're out there playing games as research, as sort of like learning about what decisions other game designers have made and things like that, I would recommend finding some way to consciously describe what you're learning in words, like not just sort of feeling it in your gut, but describing to someone else in words what experience you're having. Okay, where is the... Oh, there's multiples. Okay.
Keep pushing. Then rest.
Ah! This is not going very well.
Fire in the hole!
Let's burn these guys at least.
Gotta slow down.
So whether that is playing while in a Discord chat with your friends, you know, and talking to them about what you're experiencing in the game and what you think of it. That's one way you could do it. Writing a blog or making Twitter posts about the games that you've played, reviewing games, you know, like writing what you like and what you don't like. You know, like, that's one of the benefits of actually, you know, attending college programs that are about video games, is that gives you an excuse to be talking about them and making, you know, formulating coherent thoughts about what you're learning. I would really recommend that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be about playing a lot of different games, especially if you're on a budget, which I imagine you would be if you're a college student. It's not about the sheer number of games.
I'm gonna get sick.
It's about branching out to try new things and making sure that you're having coherent thoughts about them, that you know what you're learning from them, and you're recording it somewhere. Not necessarily because you actually expect to come back and read it later. You don't have to come back and read it later. Just the process of writing it will make it sink into your head better than it would otherwise. Okay, so apparently there's still a screamer here. I don't know where. There's a Juggernaut over there that I'm just not going to mess with. All right, we're going to use my last healing item. Let's just skirt that. I guess I'll come back here later and maybe the screamer will have sort of like despawned and respawned and I'll be able to find it. Oh, hey there, Cosmic. Thanks for joining us. So, Cog says, given how many tutorials for games I've played, because I keep starting new games, shouldn't I just be the tutorial czar for Xbox rather than designing one particular game? Oh, way to describe hell on earth for me, Cogs. So, there are designers out there who are very focused on the learning process and piecing that out, figuring out the best way to do it, that sort of thing. A lot of them are UX designers, specifically. And while I do enjoy UX as a subdiscipline of design, it's fun to talk about, doing that full-time, figuring out how to teach games full-time, I would be missing out on a lot of my favorite parts of video games. What I really love about you know, video game work. Oh, good. Okay, I think I did bring... Yes, okay. I anticipated that this thing might be busted, so I brought a repair kit. All right, we're just going to pretend that happened normally. Look at this thing. Oh, I'm going to just fix this up right here. No big deal. This car's fine. This car is absolutely fine. Had lots of gas. Oh, there's a play card over here at the... yeah, we'll deal with that later. Okay, so we'll take this back home. But yeah, no, I really like imagining sort of like an emotional experience that a player wants to have. Things like, you know, you've just watched The Walking Dead, putting you're getting into that headspace, imagining that you're in the zombie apocalypse and like what decisions you'd make and, you know, like what that experience would be like. You leave the show thinking about that kind of stuff and you're like, I want to have that experience. Not in real life. I don't actually want my life to be in danger, Oh, okay. I thought that I could just... Nope, I'm just destroying this car. I'm doing a bad job. And I don't deserve any pie. Okay. Anyway, taking try taking an experience like that where it's like it's a very ephemeral sort of thing. It's hard to say, like, what is the experience of getting excited watching a zombie apocalypse show? What is that experience? You can't really describe it in words. You can try, you can, sort of fumble towards it, but you can't just say what that is. But people want that experience. They want to play through that experience. And so then figuring out basically an autonomous machine that can provide that for a player, a set of rules and systems and like mechanics that can deliver that experience to a player, that is just this fascinating challenge. And that is what I like about my job, is figuring out systems that deliver emotional experiences like that. And that's not like when you're working on the tutorial for a game, that's not what that is. Like a tutorial is not really systems at all. A tutorial is content. A tutorial is, okay, you've got a system. Somebody else designed a system. Or maybe you did it, if, depending on, what team you're working on. Somebody designed a system. You've got the system. And now you need to figure out what's the process for teaching the player that. What missions do you create? What objectives do you create? What do you write? What do you show the player? How do you take control of the camera? That sort of thing. That's all content. And content is neat, but it's not my area. Like, I get inspired much more by being a systems designer. That's why I am the systems lead on State of Decay 3 and not the content lead on State of Decay 3. Because if I were the content lead on State of Decay 3, I would be losing my mind. Because that's not what I'm here to do. That's not my what inspires me. That's not my area of expertise. It's not what I've built up a lot of, skill around. I mean, everybody does a little bit of everything, right? Like, every designer can do some systems, can do some UX, can do some content. But we're all sort of, we've got our little, our diagram distributed in different ways. And for me, it's very heavily on systems and sort of figuring out how to deliver the high-level fantasy through systems. Okay, let's drop off some stuff, especially this heavy thing. Though it's nice to have a handgun ammo press. We got plenty of ammo lying around, and I was actually a little worried that we were going to run out of ammo. But now that we've got the ammo press, that's nice. Let's go ahead and install that. Where do you install an ammo press here? Is it in the... Probably not the vehicle depot. Do we have, like, just... Where's our, like, proper workshop? Do we have a proper workshop? Outpost Center... Outlaw Lab? Okay, Outlaw Lab. That supports handgun presses. That's fine. Okay, so I think we've done what we set out to accomplish, which was we killed those ferals, we cleared those infestations, we got 2 pickup trucks back at the base, and we have parked those 2 pickup trucks in just the perfect places here at the base. So I get to see... what happens when I leave Heartland and come back? I'm going to see if those vehicles are still there at our next session. But for right now, I think we're gonna wrap up Heartland. However, I have been ignoring the chat, so let me catch up with the chat a little bit and see what else I can say. Oh yeah, so Peroxicus had the same experience with Elden Ring that I had. Is that he got an hour into it, was like, okay, I'm good. I've had the experience. I know what people are talking about. But like for me, I just like that kind of combat system. I'm not good at it, and I don't want to be good at it because I would have to change my habits in every way to get good at it. And I'm like, why? There are games that are made that I'm that I actually that work with my habits very well. God of War works with my habits much better. Hades works with my habits much better. People have commented when I play Project Zomboid, they can hear me clicking about 9 times for every time my character attacks. That's just how my hand works. And so that kind of button mashy approach does not work with a game like Elden Ring. So I will never be good at that combat. And that game is all about mastering it. It's all about mastering that combat system. And learning, and it all works according to very consistent rules that you can you can teach yourself. Like, it's not unfair. The game is very fair, but it demands that you master it using skills that do not come naturally to me. And I'm just like, I could devote my life to changing everything about myself to appreciate this game, or I could just be like, yep, that's cool that people like that game. That's great, and I don't have to play any more of it. Oh, so interesting. So okay, so Killer Venom had a question that I think I'll take the time to answer this before we go away. He's asking, what is the difference between a game developer and a game designer? He's like, does the developer do the coding and the designer does things like animation? Like, what's going on? So there is a little bit of a terminology weirdness here, because in like sort of just general, in the tech industry at large, not the game industry, but the tech industry at large, developer means software engineer. When you say that someone is a developer, what you're talking about is the people who write the code. But that's not how we use the word in the game industry. In the game industry, a developer is someone who makes games. And they could belong to any of a number of different disciplines. If you're involved in making a game, you're a developer. Developer is to distinguish between developer and publisher. Like, if you're one of the business people who works on packaging and selling games, you're not a developer, you're a publisher. But if you are working on creating the game, then you're a developer. So that's what the word developer means to game developers. That's what we mean. So when I say I'm a game developer, I mean that I'm working on building the game. I'm not working on selling the game. But within game developers, there's a lot of different disciplines. There are, engineers, designers, audio people. There's a lot of different ways to describe audio people. They're audio people. There's artists, there's animators, there's testers, there are writers. There's a lot of things I'm not thinking of, and I apologize. There's riggers, there's UX designers, there's UI artists. There's a lot of disciplines and sub-disciplines of people who have different skills, different training, different experience, and who do different jobs on the game. And so, a lot of those, what they do is obvious. An artist makes the visual stuff. An animator moves the thingies around. A programmer could specialize in a lot of different things, but what they do is they make the game functional. They make the thing that is happening work. What a designer does is a designer is in charge of, depending on, there's actually a lot of different kinds of designers too. A designer is in charge of sort of planning the experience of the game for the player, deciding what the rules and situations are that the player is going to experience. And when I said rules and situations, like, that actually is kind of a split. Like, there's the rules, which is like me, like a systems designer like me, is in charge of coming up with the rules of the game. How does it work? How does combat work in this game? How do resources work in this game? How does the simulation of this game run? Like, we come up with the plan for how it works, and then we're responsible for that plan working out. Engineers will build a lot of the stuff that we've planned, but then once the engineers build it, we're responsible for playing it, seeing if it's fun, and if it's not fun, it's our job to figure out how to fix it. And if we don't figure out how to fix it and the game isn't fun, it's our fault. And it's not the engineer's fault. They built the thing, but they're not responsible ultimately for making the thing fun. We're responsible for making it fun. And if it's not fun, it's not the engineer's fault. So there's a lot of like fun, creative investment that goes into that. Like, I really love my job because I get to do all this fun, creative stuff. But there's also a lot of intimidation because because a lot of times you're making up a new game from scratch. You don't know if it's going to be fun. And if it's not fun, it's your fault. And nobody else gets to take the blame except you. So it's tough. But that's the rules of the game, which is what systems designers do. The situations that the player gets into, that's content. That's, you've got a game that works a certain way, but what are the missions? Who are the enemies? What are they doing? Like, who did you encounter this time? Like, a lot of that stuff is, and then what did the characters say? That starts getting into, overlapping with narrative design. What's the story? That's narrative design, which overlaps a lot with content. So there's lots of different things you can be good at as a designer, where you'll sort of find your place on a design team. There's UX design, which is about, the interface. Like, how does the player, what is this membrane between the player and the game, where the player the game tells the player stuff. The player figures out what it means, and then the player does stuff back to the game. That interface, that's UX design, figuring out what you put on the screen and what the player is able to put back, and how the game responds, what that feedback loop is like. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways, but that's broadly what a designer is. It's somebody who is in charge of and responsible for planning how the game works and what makes it fun. Whew! All right. Let's see here. Oh, so Cog says that actually it might require more cars before we incur this bug that we've been talking about. So we'll see. If the bug doesn't happen this next time, I won't dismiss it. I'll keep trying to collect cars and we'll see what happens. All right, I think I've covered most of the big questions. Corrupt Snake says, so apparently rumor is that Cash Beaumont, the bounty broker, created the plague, hence zombies don't attack him as it originates from his blood. I mean, that's as good a theory as any. It's not the one that I have in my mind, but I'm a big believer in the idea that until a storyteller is explicit about what's happening in their story, the thing that's happening in their head is not real. Like you can't, if you've sort of written a story and then somebody says, oh, I thought this about this character. As long as the written text does not contradict it, then you can't tell them they're wrong. It's like, oh, you think that? Okay, I had something else in my head, but when an author says, oh, actually, this is what was going on in the background of the story, and they can tell you something, you're like, if you don't like it, that's not canon. In my mind, it's not canon until it's on the page. So even if the writer had some particular thing in mind while they were writing something, if they didn't put it in the text, you don't have to accept it. You don't have to accept that as the canon of the story. And so you just do what you want with it. It's not like they've revealed the secret truth. They've revealed part of their process, but they haven't revealed the secret truth of the story. So if you've decided that you've got enough information, you've got enough evidence that Cash Beaumont story is true, for you it is true, and I'm not going to try to contradict it. It is not what's in my head, but that's fine. I'm not in charge of your experience with the game. I'm only in charge of what I put out into the world. You're in charge of the experience that you have with it. So Setia showed up and asked, are you a designer on State of Decay 2? Yes. So I was a designer on State of Decay 2. I'm now on the State of Decay 3 team. I'm the systems design lead on State of Decay 3. But for a long time, I was a designer on State of Decay 2. I was the first designer on State of Decay 2. And ultimately, I ended up being the design director on the game for a year, 2. I don't know how long I was the design director. After release, when we were making the Juggernaut edition and some of the stuff that went after that, I was the design director on the game. But I've moved on to do a different job, and so other people are designing State of Decay 2 now. In fact, if you want to meet the designers who are currently working on State of Decay 2, you can follow State of Decay 2 State of Decay on YouTube or on Twitch, and we do these regular live streams. Our next live stream, which is going to be 2 Mondays from now, it's on the 23rd. I think it's on the 23rd. Which, if you're watching this later on YouTube, this might actually come out on YouTube later than the 23rd. It will. If you're watching this later on YouTube, then yeah, you can just go to YouTube and find this video. It already happened like 3 days ago. But there's going to be a stream where actually 2 of the designers on State of Decay 2 are going to be talking about the new infestation update, the things that they've learned from the public test realm. It's going to be great. It's going to be Joe and Randy, and they're awesome people. So go check that out whenever that is possible for you. Killer Venom asks, can people fresh out of college be a designer? Yes, there are entry-level design jobs. You're not, usually right out of college, unless you decide that you're going to sort of go the indie route and make your own game from scratch and try to sell it or put it out there for free or whatever your strategy is. If you're not going to go make your own game and you're going to go work for a larger studio, chances are they're not going to hire you to be the top designer on the team. So you're not going to be, fresh out of college, you're not going to be the person who is sort of like, planning the game at a very high level, deciding the overall ambitions of the game. You'll probably be somebody who's assigned to work on smaller features, like you might be assigned to to figure out the numbers that drive how different weapons work, for instance, or you might be assigned to you might be if you're a new content designer, you might be asked to come up with several generic randomly generated missions, for instance, or set up some challenges, some bounty-like challenges for players to pursue. There are jobs that can be done by somebody with very little experience, which could give them good learning experience that they can work their way up to sort of working, on something on a larger scale. But you don't have to do that. If you've got big ideas and you really believe in yourself and you want to just start making your on game, you are perfectly free to download Unity or Unreal or something and just make your own game from scratch, or take one of your college projects and expand it into a game. That is Portal came from that. Portal came from some people who finished a college project. They graduated from, I think, was it Digipen? And they were immediately hired as a unit by Valve to make Portal. And so, that can happen. You can go straight from college into, like, doing something fancy. But most people don't start there. Most people start at some other job. But yeah, that is game design. Like, there are entry level all the way up to director level jobs in game design. And all of them are game design, and all of them are fun, in my opinion, and creatively challenging. So, yeah. Oh, interesting. So Setia, okay, so Setia's got a game design suggestion for State of Decay 2. They said that basically if they were doing it, rather than having the map completely taken over by plague hearts at the beginning and being really, really hard, and then as you fight them, you basically make the game easier and easier and easier for yourself by reducing the enemy threat. They're suggesting that what they would prefer is there's just one plague heart to start, but when you kill it, 2 more show up. And when you kill those, 4 more show up. And it basically multiplies like a Hydra. If you want the game to last forever and just eternally get harder and harder and harder, that is a way you could approach it. One of the downsides of that is that that's an incentive for players never to fight a plague heart. You would have to really come up with another positive incentive for them to want to fight them if they're just if fighting them makes the problem worse. And so if, for instance, there was an escalating quality of loot that you could get out of them as there were more and more plague hearts, you get better and better stuff out of them. That could work if you wanted to structure a game that way. Another suggestion that I had early on that we never actually ended up pursuing was the idea that you start with the map full of plague hearts. So, like, you do get the sense of, like, oh, I am a stranger here and I don't belong here, that sense of intimidation you get early on, but have them all be easy plague hearts. And then develop ways for plague hearts to get more difficult over time and more challenging, more interesting to fight over time. We have to fight them in specific ways or something like that. And then as you kill plague hearts that are the easy ones, have the surviving plague hearts start leveling up and start getting tougher and sort of demanding more effort from you in order to defeat them. And that way the game does get harder and harder as you go, but it's each individual fight that gets harder, while the overall impression of, like, mastery of the terrain, you still do whittle the enemy down and defeat them, which is I think an experience that the player would want to have. But this is what game design is, right? Is like, people make suggestions, you go back and forth, you figure out, oh wait, no, okay, if we change the rules that way, this good thing is going to happen, but also we've got this new problem to solve. Can we solve that problem? And if you've got an obvious good solution to that problem, then great. Okay, maybe we've made a good decision. But if you can't solve that problem, you're like, okay, is there a new way we can solve this that doesn't incur this other problem? And that problem-solving process, this is what game designers do all the time. This is like what my job is sitting down with other game designers, working through problems like that and figuring out how to come up with a decision where the player actually has the experience we're looking for, and they're not motivated to ruin their own experience, or the game is not ruining their experience for them because the rules are setting up the wrong incentives. Killer Venom asks, would I still be able to do art and animation as a designer? So if you are into art and animation, there's lots of different ways you could approach that. If you want to be on a very small indie team, where, like, there's not a lot of division of labor and everybody's wearing multiple hats, you can absolutely be primarily an artist and an animator and do design work, or primarily a designer and do art and animation work. That happens all the time on very small teams. On larger teams, they do tend to, sort of channel you into specific areas, give you big enough jobs that you can't be doing 2 jobs at once. So people tend to be more specialized on larger teams, so it's harder to do that. But still, depending on the attitude of the team you're on, like, you can be on a team where the designers are dictators and they're like, we have the vision and we will hand it down to you and you will implement our vision like a robot. And then there's teams where, if you're working on a feature, the designers bring you into the discussion and you get to have as much input as anyone on the team about how the thing works. And if you've got good ideas, they'll be put into the mix with everyone else's. I like working on that other kind of team. I like bringing people with a lot of different perspectives into the design process. If you get on a team like that, you could be primarily an artist or an animator and still be involved in design discussions and still get to do some design work. So there's different ways that it can work. So that's probably the best way I can describe that. And we've almost doubled the length of this episode just sitting here chatting. This has been fun. This has been a fun discussion. I should end it, though, because we got other stuff to do. So let me wrap this up. There's a subscribe button. Here's links to other videos. And I'm going to come back and play more Heartland next week. And when I do, that video is going to go here. And I've probably already done that because this is going to be released far in the future.